everyone, and welcome to Candid Coach Conversations. I'm Kimberly Boyd, founder of Live Life Fully, and I want to welcome Teresa Anderson, a dear friend of mine.
Hi, I love always being here with you and seeing your face. So I'm so thankful to be here today.
Yes.
I'm Teresa Anderson. I'm a certified Live Life Fully coach as well as a licensed professional counselor. And I'm just here to spark joy and have a great conversation.
And we've been talking, and I know that intention is super important to you. And in your work with Live Life Fully, I know one of your passions is for people to live and lead an intentional life, which I certainly love. I mean, you already know this, but I want people to live life fully. And I want people to know that they can create the life they want to live, regardless of their circumstances. I believe each day we can create the day we want to have. Yes, life is still going to happen. Life happens all over us.
Life be lifing.
That's right. And we can set an intention even when life's all over us. I get to decide how I want to feel by the end of the day.
I love that.
And I can decide if I have a hard day and if life really life's on me, if I want to feel joyful at the end of the day, how can I do it? And as long as I can get back to that desired feeling before I go to bed, I think I've had a successful day.
Absolutely.
Even if that challenge or that obstacle was not fully resolved,
Hmm.
I still think I've had a successful day. So, in thinking about intentional living, I want to know, Teresa, really and truly, because I don't know that we've talked about this before, what makes intentionality so important to you?
I think in anything we do, when we do it with intention, it's going to show up and it's going to arrive and even arise in us. Something more magnetic, more magical, more thoughtful, less programmable.
Love it. Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt. Well, I
No,
did.
that's exactly what it is for me. I mean, intentional living is wrapped in the kind of day that I want to have, even though, like you said, obstacles and chaos might arise. If I can continuously be in a self governed position to reconcile that, even when those things are arising, that I can either pivot in a positive direction or I can allow the misalignment to completely trigger destruction in my life that day. And then if I do that, I'm losing the day essentially versus being intentional with what is within my power to control.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I really love happen to the days rather than the days happen to us. Love it. That is going to be a sticky note.
I love that because I think also, when people hear about the coaching world, they often think like motivation, hype, telling affirmations at you. And I think that's more the sports world, right?
Yes.
I think real coaching is about clarity and alignment and intentional design. And so coaching is more like forward facing. It's not about fixing necessarily, but it's more about activating. And
Mm,
that's the way that I kinda connect coaching to intentional living. Like, we can have all the thoughts all day about all this amazing stuff we wanna do, but if we don't get off the couch, or we don't put one foot in front of the other, or we don't come up with a plan of small, intentional, designed, programmable actions to get to the point that we wanna get, then we're really just stalling and hoping that one day it'll arrive instead of actually being intentional about forcing it to or
yeah.
creating the movement that will allow for it to manifest in our lives.
Yes. Just sitting there waiting for the knock on the door. Hi, I'm your
Waiting
Teresa.
for the lottery ticket to be won.
Um, I will say, and I love that you pointed that out because when I first started working with my coach, I think I've always been a go getter. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. But I do think I've been a go getter and I've set goals and I achieve goals and I do all these things. And then when I hired a coach, I was like, I thought I was doing things.
Right.
That
Yeah.
took my life to another level, and it is. And what I do know about myself and what I've learned throughout these years of coaching, being coached, having my own coach, and then coaching others is I think about a project or I think about a dream or a goal, and then I think about all the things that come with it, which is very important to think about. But then I get slowed down because I'm still thinking about all the things. And I'm like,
Right.
what?
Yeah.
And so what I learned by having a coach is set the goal, set all the things, know about all the things, write them down, whatever you've got to do, put them out there. but then we got to come down to one tiny, tiny step. And I've talked with people about this and they've said, oh, but Kimberly, that'll take longer and I need to have a better plan before I get started. And I'm like, so you still want to stall?
Mm,
Because it is that one step. And it does sound like sometimes it's going to take longer. And the fact is, that one step and then the next step, it is like a rocket. And I've
right.
said this a million times because I do believe in the coaching world now, haven't always. I was a therapist first for and still am. And I thought that was the only way to help people. But I had put things on my when I first started with my coach, of course, she asked me all these goals, and I had some goals on my 3-year goal list and then my 5-year goal list. And I accomplished my 3-year goal list in less than a year
That's amazing.
with my intentionality and by having a coach. I mean, I will give credit to Tracy because she pushed me. I'll never forget. Here I am doing all this stuff and I've all this stuff. We're on the phone, we're doing our coaching call, and I answer a question and we're talking about it. And she goes, okay, so Kimberly, you're still playing small. I'm like, oh, do you know what I've and then before I got over that initial stab, I did some processing and I'm like, huh, I'm holding myself back. I'm still playing small. And she's right, because I was started thinking about the 10 things rather than the one thing. So my intentionality was off.
And I think the powerful reframe of that is that she assumed that you were capable, not broken, not deficient, absolutely 1000% capable. And she saw where you were getting in your own way.
And I had the blinder on. Yeah, exactly. So talking about coaching and intentionality, I'd love to know some of the reasons that you decided to get certified as a certified Live Life Fully coach.
I think for me, it was two or threefold, to be honest. High functioning people still get stuck, for one. And I was kind of in a position where I love being a therapist. I love helping people on that level. It is a very, very organized and safe, intentionally safe place where sometimes it's hard to like really push or motivate people in towards a certain place. And I realized something in me that kind of felt the desire to have that piece added to something, a place where I knew I really couldn't totally practice that without, of course, consent and the client having it as their own idea and embodying, their beliefs and their consent and their ability to choose, which I think is more about, therapy. And therapy is also about the past and about the trauma focus and the things that have happened and where like those things are holding them back and holding them down. But then I realized that I had a whole subset of clients who we had gotten through all of the deep, dark stuff. And now they were more in a place where like they needed activation. And I realized, wow, this is where the therapy client becomes the coaching client, right? Not that I can see my own clients, but what I love is I could see a client and notice that they need that and call one of you guys and be like, hey, I've got a client who would really benefit from coaching, and realizing that they're in alignment for that like higher version of themselves because it's showing up in their lives. They just need a path forward, essentially. And when, of course, speaking to you guys and you guys talking to me about coaching and how, it was changing your lives and, the stories that you've shared. Absolutely. It really felt like this is not only the next step for me, but this is the next step probably for a lot of people in my oikos, essentially. So that's really, I think, what motivated me towards becoming a coach myself. And when I say two or threefold, I'm thinking about all of the people that can benefit essentially in my life and my whole world. And I also think about like, I want to write books and I would love a platform to be able, to share that kind of information as well. And those kinds of dreams, hopes and aspirations. And I think coaching and writing, they go hand in hand. So that's another reason or another goal that coaching became an explorative joy for me.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing up the counseling world because I believe it's so important to take care of our mental health and do that trauma work. And it is about the past and it is about healing. And I too have had clients that they've done so much work and then they come in and it's like, what are we going to talk about?
Right. Everything's fine.
To switch gears, especially with insurance, like there's just so much red tape that we can't
Yeah.
be not supposed to enter that coaching world into the counseling world. And so that is the reason, one of the reasons that I created a separate company is so that it would be separate and licenses would be okay and all of that. I love that you said high functioning people get stuck. And that was me with my coach. I was high functioning. I was successful. And my coach saw more and said, "So you're still playing small." But I do replay that often. I do. Because I'm like, am I still playing small? Where am I playing small? Because the fact is, I think we're all still playing small in some areas, whether it's in
Absolutely.
our friendships, our relationships with our spouse, our kids, our work. Where are we still playing small?
Mhm.
So, those are some of the reasons that I too became a certified Live Life Fully coach and decided to start the company and write the curriculum. When you were talking about as a therapist for yourself, and you said that what I call the red tape,
Mhm.
it sounds like it too is holding you back from your true well, your calling. I do believe what I know of you. I do believe you were called to be a therapist.
Mhm.
And I think you were called to be a coach because you have such a heart forward approach with clients
Mhm.
in both worlds that you are able to help those that are hurting and those that have been traumatized and abused. And then you have this heart centered approach where you push people to see beyond what they think is possible so gently and so beautifully. And that's
Mm.
what I love about you as a therapist. I love a lot about you. Parts that I really
I
love
love you.
about you too are this heart-centered approach in both worlds. And you push in counseling too to
I
identify
do.
trauma and to I think for people to realize they're worthy
Right.
regardless of that
Yeah.
trauma.
I definitely do push in those areas, but I think I did realize that there was a wall there that I didn't feel was appropriate in the counseling room. And so for me, it really did establish in me this desire to do something like a little bit more forward working, not necessarily forsaking that environment because that environment is so important and so many people need it and could benefit from it,
Yes.
but also like what happens after the therapy, right? And that's when my mind kind of opened up to there has to be like a secondary source essentially. And I think also I hit a wall in my own personal life that it was kind of like I built a life, but I'm not sure it's mine.
Mm,
And I think it forced me that season particularly forced me to ask, like, what do I actually want? Where am I over functioning? What have I outgrown? What am I tolerating? What would freedom look like here? Right.
yes.
And so, in asking myself, or even sitting with clients where I felt like I almost had the desire to ask some of these questions, but I was like, I probably won't here because I want to make sure that they bring this up and that this is something that they're ready to enter into and not something I'm leading them towards, essentially. But in coaching, I think you could do that. And it was in asking myself some of those hard questions during a season that I hit where I realized, okay, I think I would benefit from coaching.
Yes. Gosh. Well, so saying that, so, oh gosh, I think I could benefit from coaching. And so you did. You got a coach. And if you're comfortable, and of course you can say, I'll pass. I'm curious, like two takeaways that you've had since you started with a coach. Like, what are two takeaways that you've had?
So, two of my favorite things probably is really just getting honest with yourself, right? A coach is going to generally listen to everything that you're saying, but they're also going to pull out these like little key points that you're almost bypassing consciously and really like hone in on that. Like, okay, you say this, but this is what I'm hearing or seeing. Where is the misalignment essentially? And that part of it, that reflective listening that moves into activation and doesn't just stay in reflective listening like it does in the counseling room is really what I loved about being coached. And then like, what are the next big 5 moves? Like when my coach said that to me about anything, whether it was, I want to go to Dia de los Muertos in New Mexico, or I'm trying to put on a quinceañera for my daughter, or I really need to figure out how to publish this book, right? So sometimes it was really educated forward, and other times it was just life and a family and my joy construction and what it is that I really want to do, my passions, who I am as a person. Where are some places that I'm maybe selling myself short to be everything for everyone else? And so those were the places for me that really always hit anytime I had a coaching call.
You mentioned that you've realized you wanna write books, and when you said that the first time, I was like, "Okay, that's funny." She wants to write books, y'all. She has written a book, this publisher right now,
Right.
and she's going to write more books because you've started on the next book, right? Yeah.
I have started the outline.
Yes.
Yes.
So she's writing books.
I think in a way it still hasn't like come to reality for me, but I am definitely moving through the process. So we're in publishing, it's in editing currently. That's exactly where we're at. So, yes, we're here. And thank you to my coach.
Set that intention, and she made daily choices, intentional choices to make those major moves to get that book written, and then you send it to the publisher and it's there now. Sounds so easy. Not easy. And you did it. And now you're working on your second book. So if you're interested, I'd love for you to come back and talk with us about
Absolutely. I would love to sit with you and digest that, even for myself. Sometimes getting into a room where you're talking to other like-minded growth-minded individuals and really talking about both the struggle, the experience, and what's next is always such just a helpful place for me.
I would love for you to give people a nugget to carry with them about intentionality or intentional living.
I would say first and foremost, coaching is where excuses get challenged with compassion. So I want you to be honest with yourself. No condemning thoughts. No, there's no way I can do that. Not harsh, not shaming, but honest. Clarify your values. Where are you self betraying? What does reworking your boundaries look like? Where is fear driving your
So beautiful. Thank you. I've learned so much from you. I love it. I love conversations. I really look forward to seeing you again, Teresa. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me again. I love being here.
Absolutely. Everyone, we are wishing you a fantastic day, and we look forward to see you again on Candid Coach Conversations. Bye.
Bye.